emitters because they can stack enough photons in a beam to cause ionization. So you've got massive increases. You've got a cancer epidemic. They've got radar on all the traffic lights. They've got radar, and they've got these LiDAR systems for facial recognition, specifically for facial recognition. Now, who in London driving around in Mayor Carnage's ULEZ zone knows that they've been tracked and traced illegally, and that data has been gathered, monitored, because the cult are absolutely in a panic. They're absolutely terrified because the people are starting to find out that they've been injected with SV40.
Mark, hold it there, because my listeners might need a pee. Listen, folks, we're going to have a word from our sponsors, because we do need our sponsors and we need you as well. We're talking about the 5G network. We're talking about ULEZ. We're talking about the fact that it destroys everything. And one thing that is interesting is when you start to increase this frequency, bacteria, fungus, mold, and what we call viruses actually proliferate in an attempt to survive. Well, what have you just been injected with? Your whole life, all your vaccines, virus, fungus, mold, bacteria. It's a lock and load. And this technology is the gun that's going to be fired. Join us in 2 ticks.
TNT's Jeremy Nell.
He was saying to me how he has found himself trying to unlearn and relearn a lot of what he thought he knew thanks to the COVID era. And that's precisely echoing what I've been saying. And I suppose millions of people have been saying that. Isn't that remarkable?
You know, the Second World War was obviously a major societal event and global event, etc. You know, and this, in a way, what we've been through for the last 4 years seems to be is you have to go back to the Second World War to find something similar for people of our generation, and or people in the West at least.
Jeremy Nell on today's News Talk, TNT.
The Irish government is proposing a law known as the Hate Speech Bill that threatens free speech. This law could have dire consequences for our democracy.
I'll have it next week, next month, and then on to the next week.
This law will have uncertain effects on artistic and musical expression. Please support us. It could stifle the activity of public campaigning on political and civil issues, and also curtail speech relating to topics about religion, ethnicity, sex, and gender. You could even be jailed for possessing documents, cartoons, or memes on your devices, even if you never read them or intended on sharing them. Mere possession could make you a criminal under this law. Help stop this law. Visit www.freespeechireland.ie/take action to bin the hate speech bill.
Plug in.
Website
TNTradio.live.
Check it out.
Today's News Talk Radio.
It's the coolest.
TNT.
I'm Kate Shimarani. You're listening to TNT Radio Live with me, Natural Nurse in a Toxic World. Please do email me your medical problems, your medical crimes in tyrannical times, your whistleblowing, kateshamarani@tntradio.live. Apologies for the time it takes to answer. You all know, because I'm keeping you updated about my daughter and everything else. So I will get to every one of those emails. Well, we're talking about 5G, but it's not just 5G, is it? I've seen all you people, fellas, I've seen you carrying your mobile phones in your back pockets, which is frying your kidneys. I've seen you with them in your front pockets, frying your gonads, your appendix. I've seen women with them down their bras. They put their phone in their bra. And actually, I used to do that at the gym. And where did I get a load of small tumours exactly where the phone sat? I've seen people sitting with their laptop on their laps or on their abdomen. What about these eye watchers that you're wearing? Streaming it through your arm. Or you've got your phone with you, on you, as you hold your baby. What about these baby monitors, cordless phones? And for the really dumb out there who are too stupid to know that when you feed it, it will urinate and poop. They have the nappies with the little Bluetooth thing, frying your child's gonads and abdomen, which streams to your mobile phone to let you know that Johnny and Jane needs a nappy change. I mean, the rest of us could either A, smell it, or B, we'd pick them up and feel. I just can't get my head around this. But this is all going on, and our children go into a classroom where it is equipped to take about 300 computers. They are continually bathed in 2G, 3G, 4G. It's accumulative and it's disease causing. Where's my evidence of that? Well, take a look at cancer. It's 1 in 2 at the moment, and it's about to be in the next couple of decades, 100%. We've covered this constantly, the whole turbo cancers. But the point is, people say, oh, this is depressing. What can I do? I don't want to know it. Well, carry on sticking your head in the sand. But when you give birth to that child, you had a duty. You have a duty to your child to get it to adulthood, to teach your child as well. So what can we do? We've knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. What is the devil called? He's called the Prince of Air. What goes through air? EMF. It's all there, but for every force, there'll be an equal and opposing force. Now, the work of Dr. Barry Trower, very interested in. If you're too lazy to go read it, go onto YouTube and listen to Dr. Barry Trower. He talks about how within 3 generations, only 1 baby in 8 will be born healthy. Professor Moskulu takes it further. Within 5 generations, entire species will be lost. Well, what species are we talking about? If the bumblebee goes, then we're really in trouble. And I used to see insects splattered all over my windscreen when I used to drive along the motorway. I don't see that anymore. I don't see it at all. You might see folk glued to the tarmac, wanting to just stop oil, but you don't see insects glued to your screen. You can also look at Dr. Catherine Horton. Now people go, oh, she's mad, but she's not. When I first came across this, it was the one thing that absolutely filled me with terror. And remember, Boris Johnson said, we have the capability to see everything and listen to everything that you are doing. It will go through your walls. We can see and hear everything. And so when you heard in the break about free speech, what are you going to do? You're going to have your head under a pillow to have a conversation with your loved one, turn everything off. This is really something. Thank goodness I live in the countryside. But we've got Mark STEELE here today talking. You've heard him about 5G. And he was just talking about these ULEZ cameras in London and what they actually are and what they're doing. So tell us some more, Mark.
Right, the ULEZ cameras, the technicalities of them, the LiDAR. So what I can actually do with that is strip you naked. I can take all your clothes off. I can then get a visual. So anybody, I mean, there's going to be quite a number of religious groups who are pretty appalled by the fact that TfL can actually look at people traveling down the street and basically take an image of them with nothing on. So I can strip away your clothing. I can look directly through your clothing. In fact, I can get them with infrared, with LiDAR. I can see into, let's say, the epidermis, so I can start to see some of the contamination that was actually in the COVID-19 vaccines. This could be used as a tracker because obviously there's temperatures. There's a temperature increase in cancer-causing tumours. They can be monitored through the blood. I can also monitor the antenna that was injected in the deltoid. If anybody has one, please get in touch so we can get them removed. They can be removed. The Satanist cult absolutely hate me with a passion because I'm telling people that always to mitigate these bioweapons if you've unfortunately been victim of it. Also, the PCR test, extremely important. That had carbon nanotubes with a neural link. So if you unfortunately took that, protective eyewear is one of the key elements because that can be activated using the 450 nanometers that they've actually installed in the street furniture. All of this equipment is an illegal.
Stephen, when you talk of street furniture, you're talking street lights. Street lights that they've put so many of them every 10 feet. They're down the high street. They almost look like War of the Worlds. They're everywhere. They're fitting them everywhere. I get tinnitus when mine's working, but all of a sudden it stops working. I don't know how that happens. The one outside my house, but they keep fixing it, and then all of a sudden it doesn't work for a year. Oops.
There was a lot of where I lived.
But I get tinnitus.
Yeah, a lot of them where I lived ended up having problems, and the council had to have police escorts and used to come to repair them because everybody'd woken up in the area that this stuff was really dangerous. So they were getting quite a lot of a number of issues, especially when your children are bleeding from the nose every night. And there was lots of people close to me where they just couldn't understand why their children were having these nosebleeds. Well, unfortunately, if I increase your blood pressure, if I increase the temperature of it, see, microwave radiation across cityscapes increases temperature. You've got billions of transmitters emitting microwave radiation, and your local council's telling you there's a climate emergency because they're seeing a 1 to 2 degree centigrade increase in temperature in your city. Well, it's pretty obvious you're not seeing that now in the countryside. Well, you will do, because the government are planning to put 400,000 in the UK alone, 400,000 very high powered 5G transmitters across the countryside, because they want to kill all of the livestock, sterilise the livestock and kill everything in the countryside as well, and damage the growth, because obviously food production, one way to starve a population is to kill all the pollinators, as you said before, Kate. So this electromagnetic radiation is absolutely lethal. It is the main trigger for the pathogens, and some of the pathogens that are in those COVID-19 vaccines. The SV40 is triggered using electromagnetic radiation. So if you've got a stable antenna in the deltoid, remember they're track and tracing you, and they're monitoring your biometrics to see the cancer growth. So you have to remember, they live, right? These spiritual demons, these demonic forces, actually they live on the energy field, this negativity, this corruption, this terror. So when you're terrorized and you've got a turbo cancer and the doctor tells you you've got 3 months to live, you live with that and you create that horror, and that's the energy.
Yeah, that, just to say, folks, SV40 is the simian virus, and they put that into, I believe it was a polio vaccine, and you saw lots of people getting cancer. People are waking up to all vaccines. There's none of those ingredients should you have in your body. And you might be thinking, oh, we're just mentioning demons. Listen, if you opened, I didn't believe in any of this. I didn't become a Christian till much later in life. If you open a Bible, it tells you what you shouldn't have in your body. And yet what you shouldn't have in your body that's in scripture are all the ingredients that are in vaccines. I find that quite strange, and I'm sure the rest of you do. But this big push, and there is also studies done, and it was a PhD study, that when you are fearful, resentful, angry, jealous, depressed, your frequency is 0.2 to 2.2 hertz. When you live in joy, happiness, love, 182 to 20. This is why when you're depressed or you've had a big trauma in your life, you tend to get sick. And we're talking about, it's absolutely true, dark energy here. Why do you think they abort babies the way they do? We've had a guest on. We've had a guest on about this. It's all part of it. There's no rhyme or rhythm as to why you would need to dissect a child alive with no anesthetic and put that tissue into vaccines. Now, this might be a bit early for you having your eggs and bacon, or even when you're about to go to bed, you might think, oh, I'm going to have nightmares. The point is that when we know these things, knowledge is power. Knowledge is absolute power, because what you'll do is you'll relax back. And Mark, my guest, is absolutely correct. I've seen patients told, you've got 3 months to live. They die to the day. You've got 6 months to live. They die to the day. I am trying to get someone on to discuss German new medicine. It's absolutely fascinating. And even what you're told about cancer, I'm not going to say too much, but I will eventually. I have seen drugs given in such massive high doses where we can't find any literature as to why they would be given, that actually then cause the symptoms that they tell you go with the disease that you've got. So you don't arrive with those. So these are your doctors, your assassins and pimps who they're just doing what they're told. So stop telling me it's a healthcare system. But I've seen it all. And when I couldn't make sense of any of it, I just relaxed back, and then everything comes. So Mark, these Eulers cameras, I know that, you know, we've got taxi drivers in London, black cabbies in these electric vehicles, sitting on the battery, frying their cells. We know that the buses, the cars are going up in flames. But these people are being bathed continually in this toxic soup. Now, when I go to London, I live 49 miles south, I start to feel very, very unwell. The next day, I'm wiped out. Simone Plout, my good friend, the Silver Bullet nutritionist, she feels wiped out. And I've even got to the stage where on several occasions, I've spoken to you about this, I've had herpes in my ear canal when I've gone up to London. And the less I go, the worse I feel when I go there. And you explained this to me. What happens? Why does it affect us more when we're not in it all the time?
Well, all electric, but the body gets used to, it can get used to. That's why smart meters are so dangerous, because they've got this intermittent pulsed frequency, and you're not used to it. And there's a lot of science behind, you know, immersion over time. But if I intermittently attack the body, then it's not used to it, and consequently it can't set up its defense mechanism. The electric vehicle issue, electric vehicles, that's a secret, well, not so secret now because we're on TNT. It was a secret that dirty bombs, electric vehicles are dirty bombs. The autonomous vehicle electric transport system is specifically, and this is why they're trying to force people into these newer vehicles. So not only can they be shut down, they can also be tracked and taken to a location and then exploded as a dirty bomb. Now, the lithium cobalt runoff is extremely dangerous. Electric vehicles emit large amounts of magnetic fields which cause sterilization, all part of the globalist plan to depopulate. So you've got this large amount of radiation. It sterilizes children and men in particular. So we've got a serious problem with the whole electric transport network, but the whole purpose of it, I mean, if you think about it from a security perspective, you would never, ever put all your eggs in one basket. If I was in a COBRA meeting and I had some minister say, look, we need to go all electric, put all our eggs in one basket, that would be a national security threat. And consequently, what you would do, you would believe that he was working for the Chinese or some other foreign entity that was trying to take down the country. And that's exactly what these characters are doing, like Carnage with his C40 City plan. He's the lead character. I mean, this is funded by George Soros to push it into newer vehicles that they can then control and try and get as many people as possible into electric vehicles. They can be then used as dirty bombs with the lithium cobalt runoff, and you can't clean it up. Well, you could clean it up, but you know, when we had those couple of buses that have just blown up in the centre of London, that lithium cobalt runoff, there's a lot of heavy metal, very toxic materials that would cost millions upon millions to clean that up. Now, can you imagine if I activate all of those autonomous vehicles and I explode quite a number of them in a cityscape? That cityscape's going to be too toxic to live. This runoff goes into the water system, it kills the fish. We're dealing with organizations who are bringing products to market without any hazmat, no environmental impact analysis. These technologies are insurable for harm because the insurance companies deem them as so dangerous, same as 5G, same as all electromagnetic radiation emissions. So you're sitting in an electric vehicle, the taxi drivers, I don't know, you know, those guys must be suffering massive increases in cancer rates. Obviously, they need to give, you know, make room for these migrants coming in. So the general population, as you've mentioned before about the ONS figures, they're now fabricating the statistics and actually holding back. They're holding back a lot of the death certificates. That's why the storage of the bodies, they're holding back the death certificates until they got to the point where they could fabricate the statistics to make it not look as bad as what it actually is. I mean, it's horrific. Go down any high street, there's people dying all around you, and your directors for public health who are currently breaking the law on not investigating the 2012 Social Care Act states clearly you have to be protected from ionizing and non-ionizing radiation. Those ULEZ guns, right, that multi-photon, multi-fusion ionizing radiation emitters, okay, that we all know ionizing radiation is dangerous. If I stack enough photons in a beam, that's how a laser can cut stainless steel. I remember having an argument with a professor, so-called expert on exactly on Belfast Ulster Radio, and he was saying, no, there's none of energy in that part of the spectrum, can't harm a fly. Well, we do make weapons with them. Directional weapons are all non-ionizing radiation emitters. I mean, there are some nuclear bombs use the ionizing radiation spectrum, but the vast body of directional weapon systems, sub-gig to 10 gigs, then you've got the terahertz range, the LiDAR laser type weapons, they operate in the terahertz range. So you've got this vast body that operate in the non-ionizing radiation spectrum. And I said to him, so can you tell me how a laser cuts stainless steel? It operates in the non-ionizing radiation spectrum. And you're telling all these viewers here that there's not enough energy there to cause anybody any harm because there's not enough energy in the photon. And he went, oh, but that's totally different. And I went, oh, so you do know what a maser is then? Yeah, you do know what a magnetron is. You do know what a maser is. And he went, it totally blew him. And I'll tell you now, the ignorance of these characters who are allowed to come on mainstream media and talk absolute garbage. We had that character on the BBC, Grimes, some conspiracy type, doctor type, and he used to just come on and talk complete and utter garbage. Knew nothing about the technology. And I remember he had a Twitter, when I had a quite large Twitter account.
Hang on, Mark, hold it there, because, you know, we don't talk garbage on TNT Radio Live, which is why we need every penny. You know, get on there, buy something, get on the website, and be a sponsor if you know a big business. So we're going to have a quick word from our sponsors before we have to wash our mouths out again for mentioning mainstream media and the morons that they put up there. Don't go away.
Give me a minute with TNT Radio's Steve Malzberg.
Last November, you may remember that U.S. women's soccer star Megan Rapinoe was playing in her last game ever. And just a few minutes into the game, she went down with a non-contact injury. After the game, she claimed that her injury was proof that there is no God.
I'm not a religious person or anything. And if there was a God, like, this is proof that there isn't. This is f***ed up. So, yeah, it's just f***ed up because...
Appearing last week on a podcast called Pablo Torre Finds Out, she mocked Christians who didn't get the joke that she was telling.
Somebody needs to check on the Christians. They're not okay. They also missed the whole joke, but okay.
Well, that's the thing is that...
I'm like, you guys missed it? Don't act like, you're surprised by me, like, making this joke about what happened or, you know, finding a dig. I'm like, yeah, I want to find a funny, like, dig. I don't know.
Yes.
Who's it at? God, myself, religion, the world? I don't know. I'm
the
like,
dig was
funny.
At yourself, too, because it was... I don't think people appreciated this because everyone was deeply triggered. Religiously and otherwise.
I say goodbye and good riddance to the woman who, for years, mocked our national anthem and now has mocked God. Thanks for giving me a minute. I'm Steve Malzberg. Catch my show Monday through Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on TNT.
Meet Norm. He lives with anxiety, but with the help of this latest innovation from Be Normal, he can be normal, just like everyone else. With the swipe of a finger, you can project happiness, confidence, machismo. Why settle for being real when you can be normal? The Normal Maker. New from Be Normal. This item doesn't really work because there's no such thing as normal. We're all different. What we like, how our brains work. In fact, 1 in 5 of us live with mental illness. Don't filter who you are. Start by talking to someone you trust. And remember, there is no normal.
You're listening to Kate Shamarani on today's News Talk Radio, TNT.
I love watching the adverts, and you are listening to me, Kate Shimarani, for TNT Radio Live. You can contact me with your medical crimes in tyrannical time, Kate Shimarani at TNT Radio Live, or anything else you want me to go over. But I just want to say here, mental illness, you are what you eat. Today's food becomes tomorrow's cells, and no amount of exercise or pharmaceutical drugs are an offset for a poor diet. I've had psychiatrists on here. You need to clean up your environment, and that also includes all of your technology. Now, the first call ever made from a handheld device was back in 1973, from a device that weighed around 2.5 pounds and half as much as a brick. I remember these big, massive mobile phones, and I remember dating this bloke he actually works for the BBC still. Yeah, time's not been kind to him. He probably doesn't remember who I am. But anyway, those phones then, the first consumer model, the Motorola, cost 3,995 quid, equivalent to 10,000, actually dollars that is, equivalent to 10,000 today. But now every single person in the world has got one of these cell phones, a smartphone. There's nothing smart about smartphones. We've all got them, but it's the devil's tool. And it's a good servant, but it's a very bad master. And people are on them all the time. They don't talk anymore. It's wonderful to hear that they're banned in schools. I was speaking to a lady who's a deputy head yesterday, and she said, no, they're not allowed them. She says, and actually in my class, when they go to the toilet, I make them leave them on the desk, take them out their bag or pocket. So they're not going to have a phone break in the toilet or a vape break. Can you believe it? Kids go to the bathroom in a secondary school for a vape break. Anyway, let's get back onto these mobile devices, smartphones, smart meters. We haven't talked about those, Mark, with our guest, Mark STEELE, weapons expert. All of these things, these devices, these ULEZ cameras, these smart meters, tell us about smart meters. Horrific.
Horrific. Smart meters have an intermittent pulse, which poses a significant larger risk than your mobile phone. All right. Because it's intermittent, the body's not used to it. It is a spine technology. They're an illegal fitment. Once again, they breach your human rights in relation to inside your own property. They are audio able. So what they do is they set up a mesh network so that it increases their ability to actually listen into what you're actually talking about in your own home. Quite a number of your devices. I mean, there's just people who was foolish enough to have Alexas and that type of nonsense in the house. All of this equipment's all about data.
Can you tell me what the weather is, Alexa? No, just look out the window. Honestly, I can't understand why people, Alexa, play such and such. Or what's the other thing they say? Alexa, who is Bill Gates? Do you know what? Fire them into the garbage with your microwave. Chuck that in as well. Your microwave needs to go in there. Your baby monitors need to go in there. But these Alexas are just hilarious. I don't know what's happening to you folks.
Yeah, before they do that, though, ask Alexa a couple of questions like stratospheric aerosol injection, ionospheric radiators, how to control the weather, because it will tell you, and it'll also tell you how many they're intended to kill. Because we've had people who've actually asked their Alexas, are these elite globalists trying to kill everybody? And they go, yeah, that's it. So that's...
people don't, they think it's all, but they don't believe it. They think the government are their mummy and daddy and that the government love them. And Mark, you and I were in Trafalgar Square when hundreds of riot police came in. We were there, weren't we? And they came in with truncheons, men, women and children. They sent them in. They actually sent horses in as well on marble, which could have been horrific. They don't love us at all, do they? So why are people falling for this? Do you think in some way there's some mind control going on? Because folks, don't be thinking we're the Tin Hat Brigade. There are patents that are live where they can take brainwaves, put them through a computer system and break it down into words like the movie The Minority Report. There is the technology there. It's all there, whether they're using it. Yeah. What do you think, Mark? Are people being Are they being controlled?
You'll have to be really careful. You've got access nodes all around you, whether it be a smart meter, your mobile device, anything that's connected to the internet is an access. It's an access node. It's a node that can either modify, change your behavior. Now, there was an electromagnetic radiation frequency weapon called brain bomb. Now, brain bomb was an idea that somebody had about putting this electrical field across the whole world, and that would subdue people's behavior in exactly the same way as you subdue bees when you steal the honey out of the hive. You spray them with smoke. Well, unfortunately, we're getting sprayed with smoke. You only have to look at that stratospheric aerosol injection. Go out at night, get a high-powered torch, and just shine it in the dark, and you'll see these micro floaters, all part of this. And the Lily wave was specifically a part of this frequency. You're going to go and check that out, to subdue people's behavior. Because, I mean, I'll tell people, look, the government's planning to kill you. The other issue that we have is we see demonic forces. As in the break there was a talk about these demons that are in, that basically embed themselves in people. I would have never believed it. All the people that either troll me, have trolled as me super stalkers, they're all demonically possessed. They're into pedophilia, they're into witchcraft, they're into all this black magic stuff. I mean, it only came as a shock when I realized that what's happened, these people have got these demons actually embedded in them that possibly don't even know. So some of the 5G network can create thought patterns in people. So that's why I never judge people. I never judge them. They can be as crazy as they like. I mean, why would you judge them when it's an external entity that's possibly entered them through these access node points? That's why you need to clean your environment. You need to clean your environment. And if you do have these technologies, if you're strong in your spirit, right, and you have a connection with the Creator, then that's your armor against this devilish, demonic world that we're basically being dragged into, or actually being dragged into it because they're planning to exterminate you. There's no two ways about it. The intelligence documents say they're going to exterminate you.
They do. I've read them. But Mark. Yeah. So look, you know what I like about you, and I've known Mark since 2020. He never does say a bad word about anyone. Never. He's always very kind and gracious. Mark, and one of the things, Mark, when everything's happening all at once, you always say, oh, it's falling apart for them. It's falling to bits for them. They don't win. They don't win. Now, we hold all the power. What can people do? What can people do besides turning off their Wi-Fi at night? That's one thing you can do. And if you forget, put your Wi-Fi on a timer. Use one of the timer switches that you would use for your lights. Put your phone onto aircraft mode. We all survived the middle of the night without, I might miss somebody. Somebody might be ill. If it's important enough, they'll knock on your door. What can people do to protect themselves, protect their children, mitigate some of this? Because, of course, we said it at the beginning, for every force, there's an equal and opposing force. The Creator is in charge, and he's Lucifer. And people, I laugh when they go, oh, Lucifer doesn't exist, really. Luciferase, light bearer. It was Dubois who discovered that luminescent property enzyme and put it in vaccines, and he called it Luciferase. It's all there. What can people do? What can they do and give them hope?
Like, we win. Number one, we win. And how we win is our manifestation. So what I'm going to say to people, the most important thing is prayer. Prayer is the most powerful thing you're ever going to get. There are ways to mitigate. If you've been a victim of these crimes, understanding how they're going to attack you and how you can protect yourself from these particular issues. But the most important thing, prayer, redemption. This is about redemption. We need to redeem ourselves because obviously we are responsible for what's happened. We allow these demonic scum. I mean, I call them the scum cult, right? Hashtag scum cult. That's a new one. I've been starting to use it because I don't like it. See, they're like people that talk about these so-called elites, but they're not elites at all. Scum always rises to the top. That's a scientific fact, okay? So you've got this scum cult, right? And what you have to do is, we are more powerful than anything they can ever throw at you. It actually tells you, you are a light emission, you're an electromagnetic radiation frequency field. How can the devil actually take any power of that? It's impossible. Consequently, understand what you are. The biological structure you inhabit is an illusion. It's an illusion. It might be a very, very real illusion to some, but I can tell you now, once you realize who you are, who created you, right, and you get that connection, why do you think I'm always laughing and carrying on? I've got an intelligence in 276 billion across the planet, and I'm just, we win. Just remember, we win. Manifest your win. Manifest it.
Yeah, that's interesting. Interesting you say that, Mark, because what we see all the time is death and despair, and we talk always about what they're trying to do, and this is why all your natural nurse army out there should be having your celery juice every day. Now we're moving on this week to celery juice, and you can put a lemon in it and a piece of ginger. You should all be going out every single day barefoot and earthing yourself, and you'd account to that, Mark, wouldn't you? We should be earthing ourselves. That's where the term tree hugger came from. Turning off your Wi-Fi, turning off your mobile phones. You can get your smart meters removed, and there are wonderful templates for letters, which it works a treat, because my friend did it and very quickly they removed them. Those templates, I understand, are on your website. Can you tell people where they can access these, Mark?
You can get them we've got them on the website. It's best to send an email, info@Save Us Now. In fact, I've got one of our cards so you can see it. It's
saveusnow.org.uk. So they are wonderful letters on there. These are resources that people have taken the time and effort. And my good friend used these letters, and they came out and removed these meters very quickly. And of course, the guy who came and removed them, he didn't know anything about it. So she educated him as well. And he was horrified. So these are all steps that you can take. Take your Wi-Fi. I hardwire. Mark told me how to do it because I'm a bit of I'm not techie. I've had to learn as I go along. But hardwiring, and I get better download, upload. My Wi-Fi in my house is rubbish, which is great. But all of these things are going to help you. Don't wear your mobile phone device on your body. And if you do, put it on aircraft mode. You can buy, I believe it's called a Block It Pocket. You can get one of those. They work because I put my phone in those when I go into London. I like the fact that the cops took my phone and then announced, she's got a burner, because I had a Nokia. Those Nokia phones are great. Those little Nokia phones are fantastic to have. People can just text on it. That's it. And it's actually, I find it very liberating when I don't take my phone out. It's like a relief. And everyone who knows me knows I've got thousands and thousands of emails. I am getting on top of it, trust me. I've been saying that for 4 years, but I am, because I'm working with people now, and I've got people who are all going to be joining forces to bring you the very best. Well, look, Mark, thank you so much for coming on and talking about what people don't realise is going on and being drawn into this demonic society. And they're not going to win. And you're listening to me, Kate Shimrani, Natural Nurse in a Toxic World, on Saturday, the 24th of February. Don't go away, because, we've just brought you something bad. And I like to bring you everything. And I've got Lucy Pringle coming on next. Nobody's talking about it. Crop circles, geopathic stress. Why not? You thought